The movie is called Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice. But what they really should have done was called it Superman versus Batman Yawn of Justice. The movie is boring. I saw it last night, and now there's a lot of negative reviews being posted. And very quickly, I'm going to tell you exactly why I think the movie sucked. And I said the same thing years ago about Man of Steel. The problem with this movie is ultimately that if you take a look at its entire runtime, the movie is about 70% of buildup and it's only 30% action. And then that 30% action is horribly edited. Now, anybody who was upset about the fact that they used Ben Affleck as Batman and hasn't seen the movie yet, you won't have any problem with Ben Affleck as Batman. In fact, Ben Affleck did a pretty good job as Batman. Because here's the problem. Ultimately, Batman isn't a man. Batman is a symbol. Batman's some rich billionaire asshole who has to act like a jackass during the day, but during the night he's out there helping and saving people and he's fighting crime. So it's very possible that Donald Trump might actually be Batman. But anyway, the simple fact of the matter is Batman's a symbol. People believe in him because he's a human who's got more money than you and he's got more intelligence than you and he's able to beat you and he's able to beat the villains easily because he's so smart. The problem is nobody really believes in Superman. Superman has powers that have no measurable limits. He has a lifespan that has no measurable limits. And the problem is he's immortal, and because he's immortal, he's basically God in these movies. And they try to make him a messianic figure. And the problem is you're quickly running into a growing number of atheists in this world who refuse to believe in God, who refuse to believe in ghosts, and who will do everything to say that these things can't exist or don't exist, even though science would say that you have to leave the door open for the possibility that there are actually aliens or there are actually gods with powers that we consider supernatural. But you've got a lot of these atheists who want to believe that, oh no, that's not impossible, and old ancient people are stupid and this, that, and the other. But the simple fact is real science leaves the door open for things that we cannot measure yet with scientific tests, simply because we don't have the technology to measure these things. I don't want to get too far off the point because that's exactly what this movie does. The problem with this movie is it was 70% build up, 30% action. When shit actually does start happening and they introduce the Wonder Woman character as Wonder Woman, by that time the movie's damn near over. It's like the last 10% of the movie where you actually see Wonder Woman actually doing something. Their idea of action is showing flashbacks and hard cuts and showing things happening on video camera. It's like, you got to be kidding me. So basically, you sit through the theater. There's a couple of fights in the early part of the movie, but it's just not that good. And as the movie goes on, it starts to get a little bit better. But the problem is it takes an hour and a half for the movie to start to get better. And then they've got this Lex Luther character who really seems to be more like the Joker than he is like Lex Luther. Gene Hackman did an excellent job as Lex Luthor in the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. In fact, I said this during Man of Steel. When I hated on Man of Steel, Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman's performance will never be topped, simply because the movie doesn't take itself seriously, and it makes Christopher Reeves a campy figure. It made Gene Hackman a campy figure. Now, it's like all the supervillains are nothing but sociopaths. They're all psychotic. They're all bent on world destruction, even though that would include themselves. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Like Gene Hackman's performance was over the top. It was kind of like watching Dr. Evil on Austin Powers. It was funny. It was interesting. These guys now are just crazy. Like the new guy who plays the new Lex Luthor. He's like an ADHD retard who you might just as easily see sitting in front of a Minecraft video game playing on the computer all day, hacking and slashing bricks and shit. It just doesn't make any sense. And then when he starts talking, he talks so fast that you really don't understand what he's saying. 70% of the movie was that. And when we finally get to the parts that they were, using as teasers in the trailers, when you finally get to the part with Batman's versus and Superman, which is exactly what we paid to see, that's all the way at the end of the movie. When you have a PG-13 movie and these kids come to see these movies, These kids come to see Batman versus Superman. They didn't come to see Wonder Woman. They didn't come to see Lex Luther. They came to see Batman fighting Superman. That's what they came to see. In fact, I would go so far as to say the adults came to see Batman versus Superman. They didn't come to see flashbacks of Man of Steel. They didn't come to see flashbacks of the old Batman. It's like they spent like 10% of the movie explaining Batman's backstory. It's like, we know Batman's backstory. Yes, his mom got shot, his dad got shot. Okay, he falls into a cave, the bats lift him up. Yeah, boom, boom, boom. He's Batman. It's like, you don't have to do that anymore. We saw Batman Begins. We saw Dark Knight Returns. Why do you have to keep on spending 10% of your movie talking about how Batman came to be? It doesn't make any goddamn sense. And what was weird about it was that they didn't bother doing that for Superman. They only did it for Batman, as if this was a Superman sequel rather than like a Batman Superman intro. Didn't make any sense. And as for Wonder Woman, yeah, she looks cute and everything, but you know, when she was fighting, that shit didn't make any sense either. And obviously, this is nothing more than a Justice League prequel to get them started off on a bunch of $billion Justice League, you know, films. Now, they teased Cyborg, they teased what is his name, Aquaman. They teased those guys in this movie, but obviously you're not seeing any of them until you pay another $16 to get another movie ticket for Batman versus Superman 2 Justice League, or whatever the hell they want to call it. So, you know, 70% of this movie was build-up, 30% of it is action. And when you finally do get to the action, what do you get? You get a CGI Doomsday. So Batman versus Superman for all of about 5 minutes. And it pretty much goes down, like if you go on YouTube, I'm pretty sure most people already know this. If you go to YouTube and you type in Dark Knight Returns, this is what, if they had released this movie, Dark Knight Returns, and they had released Batman versus Superman, where Batman is, you know, actually fighting Superman, and, you know, if they had actually done this, it would have been a totally different movie. In fact, they could have released Dark Knight Returns in the big screen, and people would have paid to see it, and people would have freaking loved it. It would have been an A+ movie. Because the thing about it is, it just doesn't make any sense to do this as a live action film, and then you have to have a CGI Doomsday. It didn't make any damn sense. And the funny thing about it is, most, you know, comic purists are going to say, well, Doomsday has the ability to overcome anything that attacks him because he was, you know, he was developed, you know, using, survival of the fittest methods, or Darwinism. So basically, even if you stab him or something or kill him, he'll just come back to life, and he'll be even more powerful because you won't be able to kill him the exact same way. A comic purist knows that. And it's like, I'll say it like this. I sat in there watching this damn movie, and I was bored, okay? I was bored. I think the scathing negative reviews of this movie aren't going to stop it from making $1 billion. And the thing about it is, with these new superhero movies, like they've got Civil War coming soon with Iron Man and Winter Soldier and Captain America. $1 billion is the baseline for these movies. If your movie doesn't make $1 billion, then you screwed up. Even if your movie only costs you $200 million to make or $300 million to make, the baseline for these movies is $1 billion. Batman versus Superman, based on what I saw with the sold out tickets, yeah, they're going to easily make $1 billion. I already know that. But that doesn't mean the movie was good. Superman Man of Steel made less than $900 million. Actually, I think it made like less than $800 million. But that's because it sucked. Now, Freddy versus Jason, believe me, you know, Freddy versus Jason, if you've already seen it, Freddy versus Jason was actually a better movie. Freddy versus Jason had build-up, but it wasn't done for more than 50% of the movie. Freddy versus Jason was done pretty well, and I actually love watching that movie. Alien versus Predator was horrible because, once again, the build-up took, what was it? I think the build-up was about 40% of the movie's runtime. It was stupid. And they tried to correct that with Alien versus Predator Requiem, which was basically a long R-rated movie. And the sad thing is, I wanted to believe in that movie, but when I got it on DVD and I watched it over, I was like, you know what, this movie really did suck. You know, and the first movie was actually a little easier to watch, but there was still too much buildup. When I paid to go to the theater, I paid to see Aliens versus Predator, just like in that Alien versus Predator PC Gold that I bought. I mean, they have got to stop doing that. They hype up a movie like this, and all it ends up being is like a damn prequel. So, you know, I guess the last thing I'll just say is that, you know, I can't really spoil this movie for you. You're gonna go see it anyway. It's gonna make its $1 billion. But I'm saying it was boring. And the comment I wrote, Yawn of Justice, they messed this movie up the same way Ang Lee screwed up the Hulk. When you see that Hulk movie by Ang Lee, what was that movie about? It was about a father and his son angry at each other, and the father is a megalomaniac who wants to steal the power from the son, and the son doesn't give a shit. He's like, yeah, just take it or whatever. But the kids who went to see the Hulk, all these ADHD little children wanted to see was Hulk bash and smash, and I just want to break tanks and blow up planes and smash everything and beat the shit out of buildings. That's what they paid to see. They didn't pay to see a father and a son and a daughter and her father having conversations. They didn't pay to see that. They paid to see bash and smash and crash and shit. That's what they paid to see. And strangely enough, that's exactly what the adults paid to see. And that's why if you do go to see this movie, you're going to sit there for an hour bored. We didn't pay to see Wonder Woman. We didn't pay to see flashbacks and hard cuts. We paid to see Batman versus Superman. So unless you watch The Dark Knight Returns, unless you watch that where Batman like stabs Joker in the eye with a batarang, unless you watch that, you ain't gonna get Batman versus Superman. You're gonna get some long, drawn out yawn of justice.